Hello and welcome to episode 6 of The Gathering, a magic podcast with Jack and
And Cole and special guest Nate for his special guest takes.
What up?
Nate the Great, the Legend. All right, so today we're going to be going over some of the Modern Horizons 3 spoilers and just going in depth about what we think.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's dive right into it. First card up, Tamio. Visitive student, blue for a 0/3 flying. Whenever it attacks, you investigate. And whenever you draw, or when you draw your third card in a turn, you exile her and transform her into the Seasoned Scholar. Two loyalty planeswalker, you can +2 her. So your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker, it gets -1/-0. You can -3 it to return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's green, add 1 mana of any color, and you can -7, draw 7 or draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library, rounded up. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. So seems pretty
It seems
decent.
good. Like how in the colors that it is, it's blue. It's going to tempo your opponent early. So let's say they're trying to just kill you, and they're playing red, so they can't play to the late game. This deck naturally is just a fog for one creature a turn, and then eventually, if they don't have a creature, or if you're against a deck where you want to push card advantage, you start attacking on turn 2 and making clues.
Yeah, very strong body for defensive, very interesting attack. The fact that it makes artifacts, good with Urza, like make a Mox Sapphire out of there. Flip it with a Brainstorm or Bobble and 2 cantrips.
When you do, oh my god, that on your.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this might be the promo art, like the borderless art. I'm not sure what the base art looks like,
Do
but
we know if NP card will be reflective? Looks like
if
there's
it's
a lot of rainbow
foil,
patterns.
yeah, there'll definitely be a foil version of this. Absolutely. How much it'll Pringle, that'll be to be determined. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, Tamio seems good. Any last thoughts?
Card seems good. 1 mana planeswalker. We all remember what Jace did in standard. So a 1 mana planeswalker instead of two. 1 versus 2 mana is the world.
True. True, true, true. All right, next thing up is the medallion cycle. We have printed in Modern all 5 of the medallions. They're 2 mana artifacts, and they make their respective color one less to cast. Um, Thoughts on the medallions?
I think that you have to find like the right deck, but someone's gonna break these cards. Like you just like play this in like mono blue affinity, right? And like it's just an artifact that also reduces your cost. So it's like it counts for 2 pips. It makes your if you go like turn 1 Springleaf Drum, uh, Ornithopter, Emery, and then I guess you would have to play like Mox Amber, but like you
Hmm.
have ways to like turn 1 this, right? You play this turn 1, you can like turn 2 if you have a Springleaf Drum, or turn 3 your Urza, and then like
That is
to
true. It's
like
not instant or sorceries only. Yeah.
so you can all of these will have like niche applications in certain decks where
Hmm.
like you're just trying to get a card down,
I
and
like
it and
making Urza
usually
three
it's
mana, dude. Honestly,
Well, I was gonna say, like Jack's right. It wouldn't make sense to just fill your deck with these.
yeah.
Benefit outweigh the cost of a card. Last ditch effort, maybe better strategy, but break like card
Yeah.
seems.
Great point.
it's a
And you
build
have to be
it's
yeah.
definitely a build around.
You have to be
Sorry.
comboing with it. Like I see Grape Shot costing 1 mana being good with Ruby Medallion. You can play Pyretic Ritual. Isn't there 2 rituals? You have Pyretic and God, it's been so long since I've thought about Storm. What's
So it's
Pyretic
Pyretic
and
and Desperate.
Desperate Ritual? Yeah, you have 2 rituals there. Ruby Medallion seems like it could be okay, and I like the idea of like play a bunch of shitters on one, on turn 2 play Sapphire Medallion, on turn 3 play Urza, all your like blue spells cost 1 less to cast. Your Sapphire Medallion taps for blue. Like it definitely will be a
Oh,
build around, but
that's when this card becomes cracked, when you can
yeah,
tap it for a
you
blue
can tap
and it makes
itself
your shit
for
cost
blue. Yeah,
less.
that seems pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Also, I do want to say having both Sapphire Medallion and Ruby Medallion in Storm, like as like 2 of each, like instead of applying a Goblin Electromancer, which can get bolted, you just go like, here's my Ruby Medallion. Now my gifts doesn't cost 1 less, but like I still have all of my other spells that I'm going to cast are going to be 1 mana,
Yeah.
and then you literally have dark rituals.
Underworld Breach costs 1 mana. Like, that's pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah. So let's move on. Let's go to Kirik, Son of Yawgmoth. This is a 7 mana card. It's 4 Phyrexian black 3 times, so 3 Phyrexian black pips. Basically, what that means is you could either pay black mana or 2 life for each of those mana symbols. So here it can be anywhere between 4 black, black, black to cast, 7 mana, or he can be 4 and 6 life to cast, which I think is probably going to be the most common way to cast Kirik. It's a 2/2 with
definitely.
lifelink, so relatively underwhelming stats. But it has a very interesting line of text, which is for each black mana symbol in a cost, you can then pay 2 life instead. So it makes every single black mana symbol a Phyrexian black mana symbol. And then whenever you cast a black spell, you put a 1/1 counter on Kirik, Son of Yawgmoth. So
Like he'd probably have that alternative.
Yeah,
yeah,
because even if you tap out, you can do Undying Evil for 2 life. You can
ooh, that's a great
you
point.
can
Yep, true.
you can all of your one drops. First off, Death Shadow. Period. Moving on. Um,
It
all of
also
your
has
one
lifelink,
drop
so you can
black
like
cards
play around with
are
it.
just free.
Interesting. It's
Yeah,
very
you can do some
cool.
crazy shit. And so like there's a lot of cards that are either like Persist becomes 1 mana. Can you imagine you can go like Unburial Rites for a colorless and 2 life, and then Persist for a colorless or for a colorless and 2 life.
Yeah.
There's you can invoke Despair for 1 mana and 8 life. But like you gain,
Yeah.
I think you gain. There's lines where like there's also gonna be options where it's like um you can I'm sure there's ways where you can like pay a black like extort, right? Like those kind of effects. If you can like
Yeah.
get life back for each spell that you cast,
Well, and
like
like,
it'll kind of pay.
let me paint this picture for you. You're playing Cabal Coffers, right? You have it as a 1 or 2 of, and you got your One Ring going. Is it win more? Maybe. But like, let's say you have 10 cards in your hand. You just drew 6 cards off the One Ring, or maybe like you have a Children play or whatever. You play Kirik, and then now all your hand can be played, and like your
Yeah,
One Ring can gain you life back. Like, seems like it's got some good potential.
the coffers deck draws so many cards with the ring and then gains so much life with Shieldred that it's
Right.
like you literally can afford to cast all your spells with life instead because like I've put my opponent to 1 and then because Shieldred ring they've gone to 30.
Mm,
So like there's a lot of life gain in that deck and this allows Shieldred to be 2 mana.
it
Uh
does allow Shield to be 2 mana.
Omas Masters is a single mana.
Yeah, you can play all your Fatal Pushes and Cling to Dust and stuff for free. Keep an eye out for
Yeah.
Kirik. We'll see if he's good or not, but I think he is going to be good. Moving right on, we
Death
have
Shadow.
yeah. You want to read White Orchid Phantom?
Flying first
Okay,
strike.
so white is a cracked card. So White Orchid Phantom is a 2 mana 2/2. It's 2 white. For flying first strike, when White Orchid and Phantom enters the battlefield, destroy up to one target non-basic land. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card and put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So this card is literally a cleansing wildfire in white,
On an
and it's
ETB on
not
a
a
creature.
human. Yeah, yeah, on an ETB on a creature, so that you can flicker it, you can reanimate it, you can tutor it with cord, you can coco you can coco into this.
Yeah, this card is
Um,
going to be super super good. There's this card with it as well. This where is it? It's like a blink guy for white mana. Villa, you can like Coco into this and Fila, trigger
yeah,
this. Exile to another target land
but
permanent, beginning of your next end step, trigger the battlefield and it's on this control. So like you can blink it a bunch with this Charming Prince. I am excited for White Orchid
seems really
Phantom.
good.
I think that card's going to be very good.
And worst case scenario, you can target yourself if like, let's say, at worst case scenario, you need to like,
You can target yourself,
you
yeah.
have like worst case scenario, your opponent has like an enchantment on a land or like something, right? Like you can one of your lands or you're under a
You
blood
can
moon
kill
and you have
a
like
Flagstones of Trokir with your own White Orchid Phantom. There it is.
there we go.
There we
There we
are.
go. we were really struggling for a
Yeah, it's
second.
like I wasn't sure where you're going there, but there we are. Yeah, I think the card's gonna be very neat. Watch out if you have a 5 color mana base, you're gonna get destroyed by some ephemerate brew that's just gonna make you feel like you are playing the worst deck on the planet. So, which is always
So
fun. I
good.
like cards like that, which are a little bit niche that can really shit on like the multi-thousand-dollar value piles. So, let's talk about Devourer of Destiny. It's 5 colorless for a 6/6 creature Eldrazi. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of your first upkeep, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put one of those cards back on top of your library, exile the rest. And when you cast this
It
spell,
doesn't draw.
it doesn't
Sorry.
draw. Yeah, whenever you cast this spell, exile target permanent that's one or more colors. So this is a weird once upon a time like effect where you can just reveal it before you do anything else in the game, kind of set up your draws, put the best card out of your top 4. You do exile the rest, so that's something to think about. Whether that's like a combo with Pull from Eternity, I don't think so, but it is
Darn.
exile. You can Karn, yeah, you can Karn back the artifacts. That's a good point. Intron, that's relevant. And yeah, this is a Nugan's Labyrinth card. Like this is just a once upon a time that they printed that you can just put underneath your Ugin's Labyrinth and make it into a soul land. This card is egregious. And also Tron will be very different, I think, after this set comes out.
Yeah.
So
They just play 4 Ugin's Labyrinth, and then they play 4 Drowner of Destiny, and then pre-game action they dig for their Ugin's Labyrinth, and then they put it on top
yeah,
of their
oh my God,
library.
yeah, you don't even need to have the labyrinth. You can just mull to this. This will find you the labyrinth.
Wait,
Like,
what is this guy?
he's an Eldrazi, so they're it's hard to describe what an Eldrazi is, but
Okay,
it's basically an
can he hear
amalgamation.
me?
He can hear you okay.
Okay, so the Eldrazi exist in the Blind Eternities, which is the vast nothingness that exists between planes. So the world is of planes. There's all of these creatures exist on a plane. The Eldrazi are literally born out of the space between planes where there is nothing. From
Okay.
the void, they emerge as like monsters of the abyss, and everything that they touch turns to dust
These
because
guys
they're made of
specifically.
nothing. They're the Titans. They're like the forces of like this like describable like unfathomable like power. It's like the universe's for like the brute forces of the universe itself are embodied by these Titans, and when they go to planets or planes, they just literally eat the plane until there's nothing there. They were stopped at this one plane called Zendikar because there happened to be enough planeswalkers there who were powerful enough to create a plan to stop them.
Damn, you
There were
put her on the
these things
moon.
called the yeah. One of them got put on the moon. Well, before that, they did the Hedron thing, but that didn't work
Mm,
permanently. One of them got put on the moon. The other two were just like straight up, like quote unquote, killed, um, by like all a whole group of awesome planeswalkers. But yeah, basically, they're just like space aliens that were born out of the nothing.
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Context.
Next
They're
up,
like
or
they're like the big bad. Like they're not like the villain, but they're like the thing that's always trying to kill everything. And so like we keep returning back to them over and over again.
mm, absolutely. All right, Goblins intermission. Tell me about Mogmob.
Mob. We got a playable goblin. Another 3 mana 3/3. We have two now, I believe, in this set. There's the black sack outlet, and then there's the Mob. So wizards is just like
They're beefing up the
buffing.
stats.
The goblins are like
Bonus.
getting
Yeah,
playable stats now.
look at those
Thank you,
beefy boys,
wizards.
dude. Thank goodness for
Appreciate
those
you.
loincloths.
So and look
Nice.
how tall they look. They're like not small. Those are trees.
It makes you wonder what the perspective is. Is that an ant taking a picture? Like those trees look like
Yeah.
they might be a little far away, so I don't know. But what does it do?
so so it's a 3 mana 3/3, which is just great. And then you can sacrifice it to deal 3 damage, but divide it as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. So it's a split bolt that you can either bolt your opponent, you can like attack for 3, sack it, throw at your opponent, or you can split it up, shoot a Ragavan and a Bowmaster in the token, or you can shoot 3 mana dorks, or you can shoot one or 3 DRCs before they flip. This
Mm.
card is very cool. If you flip Snoop with it, right? If it's the top card when you have a Snoop, you just have a lot of incidental value. If you're and it's also if your opponent takes your Sling Gangs out of your deck, so you can't win like that turn, you can just Mogart Mob, put it on top instead of your Sling Gang, and then you can still have a sack outlet to deal damage to your opponent. This card is gonna be
Mm.
very versatile. Like it may or may not see play, but it is a playable Goblin.
I really like the plan of that's actually a great point. You can do Snoop, put Mogmob on top, and then at the very least you can have that fallback plan, like if you need to interact with your opponent. That's great. That makes it better than Chain Whirler. I was gonna say there's definitely a certain number of times where Chain Whirler, which is exactly the same cost, same body, when it enters, it deals 1 damage to each creature that opponent controls and each and their opponent themselves. So that's obviously going to be better in like the scenario you talked about, where you're killing 3 1 toughness creatures. Like Chain Wheeler can just enter and kill them, and it stays around, and it has first strike. So like that's something to think about. But like on turn two, they play turn one Ragavan. Maybe you're on the play. You can go turn two, Snoop, put Mogmop. Or no, that doesn't work. You need Harbinger. I'm thinking of Harbinger, but you need to be snooping. You can Harbinger, put that on top. So it's worse than I thought it was, but definitely a good one of target at the very least to have that
It's a
utility.
good it's a good blind flip. That's probably what you're thinking of.
Oh
If you just
man,
blind flip it,
if you played Agatha's Cauldron and you like got a counter on one of your goblins, you could just like start making each of your goblins be able to sack for 3 damage. I think Mogmob has a great activated ability for Agatha's Soul Cauldron. If you can just put that on like a Grist token or anything like that. So keep an eye out for Soul Cauldron combos with it, because I think that's super good. Like hardened, like a
super
weird like
interested.
red green hardened skills. Play like I don't know. I'm thinking. I'm cooking in my head now. This seems like it'd be good.
But yeah, like it's got a really unique activated ability. Three sacking a goblin for 3 is a lot more than Fnatic, where you sack one goblin for 1.
Right, right. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. What's next? Volatile Stormdrake is next. We've got the one in a blue. Or if you want to read it, go ahead, Jack.
So it's a colorless and a blue for a 3/2 with flying and hexproof from activated and triggered abilities. So no solitude, no planeswalker interaction, nothing like that. And then when it ETBs, exchange control of Volatile Stormdrake and target creature and opponent controls. If you do, you get 4 energy and then sack that creature unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. So if you just choose not if you choose not to pay any mana, it's 2 mana. You get a 3/2, and you sacrifice your, your target creature gets sacrificed in your blue deck.
Yeah.
Not even that, just
Right. So they can't target it with any activated or triggered abilities, which is it's relevant. So you can't like keep swapping Storm Drakes. I think is why they have that there. So you can't just go like
You can't
start the loop
Teferi.
and then like do one and just like keep putting them in there. Um,
That's
I guess
fair.
that doesn't really work, does it? Because they
well, I
have
was
to
gonna say the
enter.
fact that
Well,
it's
That's
in
the
a blue.
best part, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Two
true.
mana for a 3/2 flyer. It can just be a 3/2 flyer with that hexproof ability, or you can get rid of one of their best creatures, pay no energy, and you just get 4 energy, and that creature gets sacrificed. Sure, they get a 3/2 flyer, but like I'm sure that's better than a Shieldred. I'm sure that's better than a Titan, a Dryad. Like the list goes on and on and on about things you'd rather have um, this be than it just seems like it'd be really fucking good. So
And can we talk about artwork?
yeah, it's got some good art. Absolutely, we love our Drakes over here.
It's killing it. Yeah, and so I also think that they did it so that you can't Teferi bounce it back to your hand.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, good point.
so you can well you can unsummon it, but you can't use planeswalkers to pick it back up. 'Cause that would be crazy if you have like a Jace
Yeah.
and you down tick it each turn. You just keep picking it up, and you're like, every creature you play,
Yeah,
I'm
make
gonna
you
steal and then
sacrifice. I get
sack.
4 energy, and I'm just gonna pick it back up. Yeah, that seems too good for sure. So you can still do that with like you said on summon effect. Next up we have here is Thief of Existence, one colorless, and a green for a 3/4 with Devoid. This card has no color. When you cast the spell, exile up to one target non-creature, non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. If you do, Thief of Existence gains when this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. That colorless pip has to be paid for with colorless mana. You'll find that with a lot of the lands these days, tap for colorless, either by themselves or in addition to colored mana. I chose to talk about this card because it seems like it's a good like Rec Sage-like effect. 4 or less means it doesn't hit Leyline Binding, but it does exile the One Ring, which I think is relevant, as well as like any problematic 3 or less, 4 or less like enchantments that you're dealing with there. So keep an eye out for Thief of Existence. I just wanted to mention it because I think it's good utility if you find yourself in a green Eldrazi deck, like Tron
Like this
potentially.
I like this card a lot. I feel like you definitely can hit all the planeswalkers, you can hit all the enchantments and the artifacts that are problematic.
Yeah,
They're
Karn
printing a
dies
lot
to
of
this.
like
Yeah, good point.
yeah, they're printing a lot of like problematic stuff, potentially problematic stuff.
Mm.
And so it's nice to see like safety valves like this. And then we're in a format where counterspell is very prevalent. So it's cast, so they can't even counter it. It's just like I need to hit this thing, it dies right now.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I think this card's gonna be very good. Green Tron, like you don't have Tron on 3, no problem. Crack your sphere, make a green Thief of Existence, or like you have a force in play. It's like you didn't even miss a beat. 3/4, interact with them in a way that's meaningful. Like I think this card's gonna be good. And then let's end it strong with Kozilek, the Broken Reality. Jack, if you wanna read this one.
So this is it does I don't know why it doesn't say Titan, but this is an Eldrazi Titan. Kozilek the Broken Reality is a 9 mana 9/9 Eldrazi. When you cast the spell, up to 2 target players each manifest 2 cards from their hand. For each card manifested this way, you draw a card. And the colorless creatures you control get +3/+2. So base rate, it's a 9 mana 9/9 that if you and your opponent both have 2 cards in hand, you both exile the 2 cards out of your hand face down, and you have 2 5/4s and your opponent has 2 2/2s. They lost 2 cards. You lost 2 cards too, but you draw 4
Draw
cards.
4 cards, yeah.
And so I feel like this card it's not as good as the original Kozilek, but it is cheaper. And if you're playing like a go wide strategy where you just have like, let's say you play Affinity and you go super wide,
Mm.
and then you like somehow are able to like cord or tutor something out, you put a Kozilek into play. I feel like this card is going to have a home in like the Eldrazi Kindred decks. This will definitely have a home. We just got to find it.
Sure, absolutely. Let me mark this time frame. Oh, 5:07.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this card's going to take the Ulamog slot in Tron. I think, having 10 mana will be a liability when you can go, Tron into Ugin's Labyrinth, cast a 9-drop pretty easily. And
From
this
4.
this makes a ton of power, draws you 4 cards. Yeah, it'll be very good. So, yeah, Tron will be an absolute stinker, and we're going to have to figure out a way to really punish Tron. We're going to have to get deep, pull up all of the decades worth of Tron hate that we've had over the years to try to fight against this force, which almost feels like what they're trying to do to us, which is okay.
Feel like Knight of the is it Phantom of the White Orchid? What
Phantom
is
of the
it
White
called?
Orchid, yeah. White
I
Orchid
feel like
Phantom.
that White Orchid Phantom, that card is going to be the relief valve of the set because it can hit Ugin's Labyrinth and it turns off Tron. It
Yeah,
hits
great
Cabal
point.
Coffers.
Great point.
Like you
I'm
can
gonna be
hit
packing 4
everything
White
that's
Orchid Phantoms in my deck come
four
MH3.
and 4 Ephemerates. So
4
you can
Ephemerates,
just
4 Cocos. I'll play some Filas and some Charming Princes, and I'm gonna have a grand old time. But I think that's gonna do it for episode 5, Gathering the Magic podcast. I've been Cole.
this one's 6.
Episode 6. My God, good thing it's at the end. But yeah, it's been a really good time talking to you, Jack. These seem like great cards. I'm so excited to play juiced up modern in the summertime. We're getting a good summer set. It's looking like it's gonna be great. So yeah,
It's gonna be an
Hey.
Eldrazi summer and it's gonna be good.
yeah.
Thanks again for letting me be a part. A lot of fun. It's Ron's gonna be putting out.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Cool.
Well, this has been the Gathering, a Magic podcast, and I hope you guys have a nice day.